Yes, Wright explained his rejection of the mountains of madness in almost the same language as that with which he explained other recent rejections to Long and Derleth. It was too long, not easily divisible into parts, not convincing, and so on. Just what he has said of other things of mine, except for length, some of which he has ultimately accepted, after many hesitations. Those once rejected and later accepted things include Cthulhu, the tomb, and many others. It is very possible that I am growing stale. That is for readers of The Whisperer and Mountains of Madness to judge. But, if so, it merely signifies the end of my fictional attempts. There is no field other than the weird in which I have any aptitude or inclination for fictional composition. Life has never interested me so much as the escape from life. However, there is a region on the border betwixt weirdness and scientification in which I might conceivably experiment. Indeed, the Mountains of Madness belongs largely to this type. Yes, all the tales you mention were in the batch shot back by Putnam's. The grounds for rejection were twofold. First, that some of the tales are not subtle enough, too obvious and well explained. Admitted, that ass Wright got me into the habit of obvious writing with his never-ending complaints against the indefiniteness of my early stuff. And secondly, that all the tales are too uniformly macabre in mood to stand collected publication. This second reason is sheer bull. For, as a matter of fact, unity of mood is a positive asset in a fictional collection. But I suppose the herd must have their comic relief. The book editor, Winfield Shiraz, added some slices of baloney about later discussions concerning a volume in which the heavier tales might be sandwiched in betwixt lighter ones. But I'm not expecting to hear much from him. It satisfies me amply to let the incident remain a closed one. I don't think the John Day Company would care greatly for anything of mine. They have not communicated with me concerning anything for their Hammett anthology. Neither do I think that Harper's would be any market for my stuff. The standard magazines take weird material only from the most famous and established writers, to say nothing of demanding a technical skill far in advance of mine. After all, the unreal is such a confoundedly minor phase of human experience. Its place in the life of the majority is so slight, and the number of those to whom it is important is so small. Editors, having such an ingrained distrust of the whole genre, naturally confine their few acceptances to specimens in which the workmanship is of the highest possible level, and in which the weirdness is as mild and innocuous as possible. All of which lets me out. That is from a letter from H.P. Lovecraft to J. Vernon Shea, August 7th, 1931. And this can be found in this wonderful book. This is Lord of a Visible World, an autobiography and letters by H.P. Lovecraft. This was cobbled together by the editors S.T. Joshi and David E. Schultz. And it's a really, really great book, this book right here, Lord of a Visible World. I've read this a few times, actually. So H.P. Lovecraft wrote a whole lot of letters. Schultz and Joshi are guessing maybe around 75,000 letters, but it could be more than that. Who knows? Certainly, most of what he wrote were letters to his many, many friends and correspondents. He wrote to a lot of people. And he was very generous with his time. If you wrote to him, he would write back at length, always. And he was very forthcoming in his letters about his thoughts, his opinions, his theories, his hopes, his dreams, and a lot of autobiographical material in these letters. He wrote a lot about his life, which is why we know so much about this guy. It's interesting to me that some people nowadays think that Lovecraft is some kind of mysterious figure. He's anything but that. He's not mysterious at all. We know everything about this guy, pretty much, because he wrote everything down in his letters. There are a couple parts we know less of than others. We don't know as much about some aspects of his marriage because his wife, Sonia, burned a lot of her letters, and who can blame her, really? So some of that is lost, but just about everything in his life he wrote about. And you can find a lot of that in here, Lord of a Visible World. So what they did is they took a bunch of Lovecraft's letters, they went through all of them, and they took out some autobiographical stuff and put it all in the order of his life. So in the beginning, you have him writing about his childhood and up through his period when he was interested in amateur journalism and when he wrote his stories and moved to New York and got married and then came back home to Providence. And a lot about the composition of his stories, the ideas for his stories, things like that. And of course, to his ultimate demise when he became ill and died. It's an interesting book, and it's really fascinating because one thing you have to say about Lovecraft is he's a very interesting man. He had some unsavory characteristics, obviously, and that's in here. They don't shy away from that stuff in this book. So it's a pretty good portrait of Lovecraft, especially if you don't want to go through Joshi's 2-volume set of H.P. Lovecraft, of his H.P. Lovecraft biography, which was excellent. I Am Providence, the 2-volume biography. If you don't want to go through that whole thing, but you want to get an idea of who Lovecraft was, this is probably your best option. It really does tell the story of his life in his own words. As he writes to different friends, a few letters to editors, some other pieces are in here, but mostly it's letters to friends and correspondence. And like I said, he's very forthcoming, this guy. Really interesting stuff. It's almost essential, if you're really interested in Lovecraft, to pick this up. I think it's pretty available nowadays. There was a while when it wasn't. This was originally published in 2000 in a different edition. This is a newer edition. This is a second edition, right? Yeah. Second edition. This was published by Hippocampus Press. And I can't recommend it highly enough. So there you go. Lord of Visible World, an autobiography and letters. H.P. Lovecraft's life story told by H.P. Lovecraft. Like I said, it's great. That is your Mythos Monday for today. I know it was a short one. That's okay, because tomorrow I've got a big book haul coming, I'm hoping. Probably my last one for a while. I know, I've said that before. Okay, guys. I will catch you next time.